so I'm gonna boot this up, and then oh, I like this map. I think this is a good map. So
Are you
what?
streaming?
No, I'm just recording. Just recording.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, no, not streaming. I mean, are you sharing your screen or?
Yeah, give me a second here.
Yeah.
We're gonna need that. We're gonna need me to share my screen. Okay, should be working. Let me.
Yes, I can see.
Great. Okay. So, cool. Your city side. All right. So let me ask you, like, starting out on this side, what are the first couple things that you think about? There are some nuanced things to playing in team games that help you kind of like create a decision tree in your mind that you know, based on the map that you're on, your starting position, what teammates you have, in terms of like the faction distribution, all that stuff. That all comes into account, right? So what kinds of things do you think about at the very beginning in the first like 30 seconds?
Well, so the first 30 seconds, yeah, immediately think, okay, like, so am I on the sides? Because then right away I'm thinking, okay, I have to focus on this fuel. I have to like really pay a little bit differently than if I'm in the middle, I think.
Yeah.
And I also then think, so usually like I don't pick a beat battle group right away. I kind of wait out for like the first, I don't know, 5 minutes to kind of get a feel like, okay, like where's this game heading? Am I gonna struggle a lot early, or do I have a solid ride to the mid late game?
Yep.
You know, what can I get away with? So those are like my initial thoughts. And yeah, and then also try to understand, am I gonna get help from the guy next to me, or am I by myself here? Because if I'm by myself, then I'll play a little more carefully, and I'll just kind of take it by ear by there.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a great observation. So these two players in the center of this map, you kind of figure like most of the game for you, because you're the northmost player, is going to be played up here, right?
Yeah.
So I'll ask you a couple questions. First of all, when we think about up here and looking at your battle group options, what do you think are like some of the different things that you could start with? Because you mentioned you don't like to select your battle group for the first 5 minutes, which there are advantages to doing that, but there are also different advantages for going in with a plan, right? And saying like, I'm going to
Right.
commit to this. I'm going to do this right from the jump. Great example is like the Luftwaffe. If you select this right from the get go, you can call in this pioneer drop pretty much anywhere on the map, right?
Right.
And that can lead to some nice like early game positional advantages and allow you to kind of scoop up the territory behind it and all that good stuff, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So looking at this side, like what are some observations that we can make about our position, about your different options in terms of tech and battle group, and then also looking at your opponent. So I don't know if you've ever seen me do this before. Have you seen me do this before?
Looking on their side of the map
Yeah,
this way, like at their base?
Yeah,
No,
the
not
base
really.
structures. Okay, so this is an important thing that you can do at the beginning of every game. So this view is available to you also. What you can do is you can look at the other side of the map and find out where your opponent's bases are. The US base looks like this, and the British base looks like this.
Oh, okay.
So you can make the assumption based on looking at these two that okay, the US player is the northmost player, right? And then what I can do is like, well, because at the beginning of the game, not much is happening, right? So I can go and look at like, okay, what options does the U.S. player have when it comes to their battle groups, right? You can go and take a look, and then you can kind of figure out like, okay, what should I be anticipating from my opponent that I can start to lean into like how to counter those strategies,
Right.
right?
Yeah, makes sense.
So it's a lot early
You
on,
know,
but
right.
sorry, you were
Uh,
saying.
no, I was just gonna quickly comment that. Funny enough, I think I only started paying attention to what battle groups they have available with like that new DLC with the heavy battle groups. And with that one, it was only like, let's say if I was like allies, and I would notice, okay, like I see their, have that Wehrmacht like King Tiger battle group, then right away at that time I'd be like, okay, then I know it's probably like some flawed thinking, but like, okay, I'm like right away if they're scaling, I have to scale too. So because I don't feel confident in like finish out a game with like an early tier type of battle group. So right away I'm always picking for like like an equally like heavy type of battle group, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so
Um,
if I'm understanding you correctly, you're basically saying that like you are trying to match their strength level at the stage of the game in which you anticipate them to be the most strong. Is that fair to say?
yeah, exactly. So if I see that they're going scaling, well then sure I can go like more early focus type of strategy and just snowball. I guess haven't really done that consistently to make that to okay, like let me consider that more often. So, but yeah. What you say was right. Yeah, exactly.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So I understand that mentality, and then that kind of like hopefully that simplifies the gameplay a little bit in that you can focus on the execution element and worry less about the macro differences between you and your opponent, right? Because the goal is that you're going to match them in strength at the stage of the game in which they intend to be strongest, right?
Yeah, more or less.
So what are some
And I
things?
know there's an idea, right, of like don't fight your enemy at their strongest, right? Is maybe like
Yeah,
poke them in other areas. So like I guess I'm aware of that concept too, but I don't know. I guess I just kind of found myself doing this
right,
instead.
right. Yeah, yeah. No, I'm following you with the thinking. I just did want to ask you before I keep running the replay here. What did we
Sure.
notice in this little situation here happening in the background?
So one thing that I always do, like in these first like 3 minutes, is once I get to the what do you call these capture points as stars?
Yeah, the victory points.
Okay, the victory points. Once I get there, I'm like, okay, chances are, especially if it's a UK player, they're gonna have a machine gun. If they do, so I need to like immediately, just tell these guys to back off if they start getting shot at.
Yeah,
And yeah, that's what happened here. They're in a building, unsurprisingly, and like, yeah, back off. And so there, I'm like, okay, I'm not sure what to do from there. So I'm like, okay, let them here until I get a mortar, which I'm recruiting right there.
right.
And yeah.
Yeah. No, you nailed it. So you started taking some shots from the machine gun that was in this building, and you're building a mortar in response, which is great. And on top of that, you're also building the Kettengrad. So let me ask you, why are we doing this right now instead of right at the beginning of the game?
Like the very beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so I would say that was in this map, I find myself going a little more heavy and I need guys that can help me in combat in this tight space.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like if I was on the side of the map and on the different map, I usually go Ket and Krat like rep first, essentially, to help me capture these different points, help me cover more ground that way. So that was like the mentality there. But yeah, so you recommend getting it first, like regardless?
I think if you're going to build this, the best time to build it is right at the beginning.
Okay.
And there are players that prefer to get this first. Some players prefer to get an extra Pioneer squad first, so you have two instead of the one. Both options are completely fine in a team game setting. It's mostly preference based. You'll notice in like if you watch me or you watch other players play 1v1s, a lot of players will skip the Kettenkrad in favor of the extra Pioneer because these guys actually have guns and this thing doesn't, right?
Yeah.
But there are some maps that are big enough to warrant going for the Kettenkrad, like Semwa or Twin Beaches or something like that. I think at the beginning, getting the Kettenkrad right at the beginning is really nice because it allows you to take your focus away from capturing territory with your Pioneer and focus on getting up to the front, taking control of important positions, and building fortifications, right? Because the Kettenkrad is so fast and because it gets experience from capturing territory, you can pretty much bypass all of this capturing business that you would be doing with your Pioneer in favor of like, maybe I want to go grab control of this building really aggressively, right? And I can assume that based on my position, my opponent's position, if my opponent is capturing territory on the way to an important position and I'm going straight for it, most of the time I'm going to get there first, right?
Right.
And that's gonna like consider what we would have been able to do if our pioneer was in here at the beginning of the game instead of like capturing the territory up here. It would allow you to move up your machine gun, move up your grenadier, and then you'd kind of be able to like take all of this territory in the background because you've got this great spearhead position right up against like the entry points to the city for your opponent, right?
So like if I had pushed with my pioneer, right where in the screen where you have right now, get in that building and kind of prevent them or discourage him from coming closer with
Yeah.
his bickers or other stuff.
Yeah,
Okay.
because he basically has two options if you take this building from him, right? The first option is he can fight you. If he fights you, you're buying time for your Kettenkrad to capture all this stuff that's behind this building, right? If he ignores you, then that creates an opening for you to bring in some stronger units and create some problems for him here. Because if you come up here, you can like harass this capture point. You can harass units that are coming in to reinforce the city. This gives you a really strong position to cover pretty much the entire entryway into the city, right? Because he's got he's got three. He's got this door, which a lot of people don't even know about, and then you've got these two big openings here, right? And this building provides good visibility on both of those. If you can manage to keep your pioneer in here long enough to walk your machine gun up and get it in the building, you're in a really good position, right? And that's going to create all kinds of space behind you that your Kettenkrad can take advantage of because it can just zoom around and vacuum up all these territory points while you're focused on holding this more crucial position with your troops.
Right. So and the other thing is I guess, and I'm really focused on getting as many like bodies on the field that can help fight, right? And so I guess like right off the bat, I'm just uncomfortable with like, okay, early on me getting that Kettenkrad, like these grenadiers will not be there probably, or my mortar will be like not till much later, So how that cascades, like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a good observation. So I think like when you're thinking about field presence at the beginning is kind of what you're talking about, right? Having your units consolidated is going to mitigate a lot of those issues that you're describing because the machine gun, your MG42, this is the highest DPS unit in the game for the first like 3 minutes, right? Nothing can deal as much damage as this does. So as long as you focus, you'll notice like your pioneers, they have quite a bit of vision range. You can see this here. See this outer edge is quite far, right? They can actually see further than they can shoot. Because you'll notice if I mouse over that white dotted line, that's where they can shoot. And they can see a little bit further than that, which is really nice, right? Especially for something like a machine gun. So when you keep your units together, as long as you're kind of like focusing on using your machine gun as your firing platform and like how you're going to deal the most damage, everything that your grenadiers and your pioneers do should be based around protecting the flanks of your machine gun, because pretty much any situation that you get into, as long as your machine gun's in a good cover position, maybe in a building, there isn't going to be really anything threatening to it in the early game, except maybe an early mortar, which you will come across from time to time. But if your opponent's going for an early mortar, that means that they're not building something else, right? Like a line unit, like a Rifleman or a machine gun or something like that, which creates space in and of itself, right? Because those line units are the things that take up space.
Right.
So
makes sense. Yeah.
I'm following you. Like, you definitely want to prioritize field presence, and the best way to do that is to keep the few units that you do have consolidated. And as long as you focus on securing a good position and playing a little bit defensively while your Kettenkrad kind of grabs everything in the background, then you can focus on the engagements one by one. Hopefully, your opponent, like, will compare you to US, for example, here. You can see this is your US opponent, right? This is what they have at this stage in the game, right? Pretty early, but like, let me ask you, how many of these units that they have are good for pushing?
Yeah, none of them.
None of them.
Bazookas, 2 MGs.
Yeah, exactly. His composition is all about I've secured a good position, and now I'm gonna lock it down.
Yeah,
right? That's what all
defensive,
these
right?
units do. They're very defensive units, right? So this is sorry. Go ahead.
No, please go. No, please finish your thought, please.
I was just gonna say this is part of the reason why like I play against US a lot. This is probably the most common build that I see from US players. Is I know that most of the time they're gonna go for machine guns. So that's usually what I'm preparing for, and that would be the advantage in, like I mentioned earlier on, focusing on getting your Pioneer into a good early position, because think about how difficult it would be for him to dislodge you from this building based on what he has. Right?
Okay.
It would be very difficult
right.
for him to push you out of that building with what he's got right now. He would have to backtuck, maybe get a mortar. He would have to get a good flank and maybe upgrade this to a flamethrower or throw a satchel on you. But those are, like, it doesn't give him a lot of options, and it's going to make it very difficult for him to move in and create more space, right?
Yeah, yeah. You know, so like with the units I have at this point, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, right? But like, what would you have done to like push? Knowing that at this point, I only knew he had one MG team, a scout in the top of the map, and yeah, that's it, I guess.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah. It's still so based on the decisions that you've made up until this point, you don't have any options until your mortar gets there, right?
Yeah,
Because
right.
right now, like, the best thing to do at the beginning of the game might have been to go and grab this with our Pioneer. Or this, like any of these buildings, really, because we just want to create an anchor that's really annoying and in the face of our opponent, right? But since we didn't do that, we just need to wait. So we just need to buy time. So secure a good position. Maybe like this building is pretty good. This building is great because you can see all of this, right? We can see the scout is up here right now. So thinking about maybe getting a flamethrower on our Pioneer would be a good way to flush out these buildings, especially where you've got like these low DPS defensive units. And yeah, just thinking about like gradually chipping away with your mortar at these machine guns until you force him back. And then you can go and take that advantageous position that you want and make it very difficult for him to get back into the city.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense. And I just barely realized till now that they both kind of not got any of their capture points, just wait straight to the middle or to this one here.
No,
or is that just my
think,
view?
Yeah, it's just your view.
Yeah, okay, that's just my view.
Yeah,
okay, good, gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
There we go. So we see a machine gun, see the arc on it.
Yeah, and here I'm going flanking around. I think the guy's doing the same thing.
Like your teammates got a similar idea here. The mortar's here. Now, do you know about this?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. These two together, excellent combination in this situation, right? Because you can see exactly where he is. Your teammate's actually doing a really nice flanking maneuver. So, has anyone talked to you about cutoff? Do you know how like territory cutoff works?
Yeah, I know. So
Okay,
here
cool.
you cut off all the resources that they have.
Exactly.
Yeah. So here, yeah, this is where I learned he has 2 MGs. Because I'm like, okay, I just saw him. Yeah, right. So I saw him setting up near the point. Oh, I do get a flamethrower on that guy. I don't remember.
We're in a little bit of trouble, but it looks like you're back in the boat. We don't get unlucky. Yeah, you look okay. Jack teammate's doing a really nice thing for us here. Like he built a mortar pit back there.
Yeah, and here, yeah, it's just too many units on my Pioneer.
Yeah.
So yeah, here, like, I feel like I'm not doing a ton with those Grenadiers. Like, what could I have done better?
Yep. So you know that this is a static position, right? You know that there's a machine gun here, there's a mortar here. Your Grenadiers can't really do anything for you, right? All they're gonna do is take damage from the machine gun that's in here, right? So you kind of have two choices. You can either like back up and go and help your Pioneer up here with these like kind of stray units these, like all these units that he has, they're pretty low DPS, like pretty not really the most threatening unit. So your grenadiers would be well used up here, right? If you need vision for your mortar, you've got your Kettenkrad for that, right? You've got the reconnaissance scan from your Kettenkrad. So that's probably what I would have done. I noticed that you did a fast tech for a tier 3, and you're getting a super early Panzer Grenadier company. I think this is good, but what I have been doing more recently is you'll notice your composition is very thin at this point. You don't have a lot of units, right? Now, the Panzer Grenadier, while expensive, what I've been doing more recently is investing in maybe one or two more infantry company units. So, like, you could build a second Grenadier here. That would pretty much assure that you can push all of these units off that he's got, right?
Yeah.
You create lots of space for yourself. Then we can, like we talked about, you can be super annoying. You can get up in your opponent's face and take a crucial building from them. And then after that's done, you can pull your Grenadier back and you can actually transfer order it into your Panzer Grenadier. Right? Now, this is a little bit more expensive in terms of the manpower cost, but it's worth it because you're basically guaranteeing that you're able to win all of these topside engagements. You're going to increase your total fuel income for you and your whole team. And you basically are able to secure that because you've got more field presence than your opponent, right? With the extra Grenadier instead of building the Panzer Grenadier here, right? Because this is a great unit, but what we've done by building this unit right now is we're potentially about to lose these engagements up here and lose control of all of this, right? And that's not worth it. That's probably not
Makes
worth
sense.
it, right?
Yeah, right.
So
yeah, no, totally.
Yeah, I would definitely encourage invest a little bit heavier in your tier 1 so that you can control more of the top side. And you'll actually find as well, by investing more in those early game units, you'll win more engagements, which means that you're going to kill more of your opponent's troops that he has to reinforce, right? And so while building a Grenadier and then using transfer orders later is more expensive for you, because you're inflicting more damage on your opponent, it's actually worth it.
Right. Yeah, no, it makes sense. And usually I do build at least one more Grenadier, but here I thought, I don't know why I thought P-Gren is like, I just need like something more overkill, but usually I actually get a Stummel first. Try to go for a Stummel before I do P-Grens.
Yeah, Stummel's a great choice in this area because there's lots of buildings, there's lots of shot blockers, and the Stummel can lob rounds over everything, right? Which is really nice for you. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is very intuitive of you to be doing this, but grenades are not great against emplacements.
I already learned that in this battle.
You learned that here, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, that was nothing. Not what I expected. Okay.
Yeah. The best way to flush these out is using a flamethrower, which you've got up here. Something that consistently can barrage it, like your Stummel that you talked about, or like an AT gun or a Panzerschreck or something like that. Yeah, it's intuitive that you like. Oh, you see a mortar team inside a bunker, you throw a grenade at them, they should all die, right? But
you're right. Yeah.
not in this case.
Yeah.
Snuck up on your Kettenkrad with his.
Yeah. Good old dingoes.
Enemy forces have claimed our territory.
They're very oppressive right now.
Field medics will be
You know, and then I feel like the meta has it's probably always been there. Maybe I've just climbed enough to see it more, but I see a lot of UK players going with those Stuarts now than before. So I feel like I've always gone with that Panzer Grenadier company building.
Yep.
Rather than the other one, but now I feel more encouraged to build it because I need that AT gun. So
now do you know about manual build versus auto build?
Yeah, I just don't tap to the auto build. 'Cause I never really understood, like, is it really that much valuable to like pick a specific area,
Yes.
and how my units get? Because I know sometimes my units can like be blocked by a building, let's
Mm-hmm.
say, when they come back
Yep.
and such. Yeah.
Yeah, you're dead on. So that's part of it, right? You're actually increasing the time it takes to go into and come out of your base because you have blocked the retreat point with a building, right? That's the
Yeah.
first thing. The second thing, and this is probably most true of your first building that you build, your tier 1, this is way better all the way out on the edge of your territory point, like right here, than it is back here. Why do you think that is?
So I've I've heard about that too, and my understanding the reason why is because once a unit gets produced out of that building, they can go. It's less time for them to travel
Yeah.
to where they're needed. But I also thought like, or, as far as early game tempo, again, maybe I'm like pulling hairs here, right? But what if the fact that it has to be built out those, I don't know, 5 extra seconds, like how does that work? Because I'm trying to rush that MG unit like
Yeah.
out there, I
Yeah,
guess.
that's a
So
great question. That is a fantastic
yeah.
question. I'm glad you asked it. So the like basically when you build this, the only incentive to build this here instead of here is that the little pioneers that come out of your base and build things, they just have to go right here to start constructing, right?
Yeah.
Now you'll notice that those little pioneers, they actually run faster than your actual pioneer squad, right? I don't know if you've noticed that,
Mm.
but
No, I haven't noticed that.
okay, yeah. Some people
Yeah.
you might not notice if you're not a nerd like me, but the little pioneers that come out of your base and build stuff, they actually run faster than your other units. So while like your ability to produce the unit is a little bit delayed by however many seconds they have to run and start constructing the building, think about how much time you're saving on each unit that leaves the building, right?
Yeah.
Like if I have the building over here, like here, let's do the math on how long it takes this grenadier to run from base all the way out to here
Yeah. See if I didn't forget
when he
about them.
starts moving. Yeah. Oh no,
Yeah,
there he
there he
goes.
goes.
Okay, right. So what are we at? 8, 7, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So you could have built your base out here, right? You could have built your. You'll notice like if you look at the little line here, we're like right
Yeah.
on the cusp of where you could build your base, where this bunker is, right? So that's 17 seconds walking from here to here. And now you've built 1, 2, 3 units from this building. So that's what? That's like approximately 40. No. That's 50. No. 49 seconds? 49. Yeah, 49 seconds. Right? That's 49 seconds. That's a long time. That's a lot of time that we're just spending just walking between two places in our base. Right?
Right.
So while it takes me a little bit longer to start the construction of the unit, the time for the unit to actually get on the field is increased, meaning it's worse for me to build it here versus all the way out here. Okay?
Okay. Yeah. Makes sense.
And then
Yeah. Makes sense.
yeah, with your base construction, like basically you want to keep your buildings kind of to the outside. What's really nice is if you can create a little bit of a wall. If you've played any StarCraft, you've probably seen way better iterations of that. But like you can make it difficult to navigate for your opponent if they're trying to like dive your base. Now I know that doesn't happen so much in 4v4, so that's a small thing.
Makes sense. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, so I guess the short version of what we just talked about is definitely try to build your starter buildings as far from your HQ as possible. The other nice thing about this is, say your teammate doesn't have this building here. If you have a building out here, you can actually reinforce your units all the way out here instead of being in front of your HQ, which is really nice when you think about like as
Really?
you're reinforcing, as you're walking out of base. Yeah, as long as you're near a friendly structure, you can reinforce.
Ah.
So
I
when your
don't know that. I thought
grenadier
you had
comes
to be,
back
like,
to
next to the-
base,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's a totally natural assumption for you. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right? But
Huh.
now you know, like, okay, my grenadier maybe comes back to base with 3
So as
guys.
soon as he's there, I could just tell him get out of there.
Yeah, you can
Like
tell
as
him,
soon as
hey,
he's there.
come up here. Come stand up
Yeah.
here, right? Finish the reinforcing, but stand up here. And that way, when I get up to my 6 men, then I can get back onto the field quicker, right?
Okay. You know, and as far as healing though, uh, for the most part, like as soon as like their retreat finishes and they're at the HQ, can I immediately tell them, okay, like, hey, get back into where I need you, like middle of the map? Well, that is that enough time to heal up the models or not, or still not really?
It depends. So something like a grenadier, it's probably enough time because you'll notice they only have 80 health per man, right?
Yeah.
The healing in this game is fixed. It's not based on percentage health. It's a health value. See what I mean here? See how it says it restores 3.2 health, right?
Yeah.
So for your grenadier, that's probably enough. But for something like a panzer grenadier, which has 115 health, you might need to linger a little bit more to get back to full HP before you leave the base and go back onto the map.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. That's a great question, though.
Yeah,
Cool.
here,
Stumbles
so
up.
I already heard, so I already hear he has a steward. Like, I already know he has a tank. I'm showing up just to, like, do some damage to him, maybe even save the point, which I do, but yeah. So it wasn't a steward, but it was, like, one of these things. And I'm like, okay, well, see if I can Panzerfaust one of them. And it doesn't seem like it.
Yeah. He's pretty quick to get out there. Okay. So we just saw a couple things. What did we see?
So he has 2 of those half tracks, one AT half track and then one like assault carrier.
Yep.
I don't know, couldn't tell. Yeah,
It looks like
carrier,
he's
yeah.
actually converting it into a quad, which you'll see right now. There we go. Right?
Yeah.
And then what do we see in here?
I saw an MG, well, and then the
Yeah.
other MG being on the other building. So I'm like, okay, so is it at any point ever worth just building 2 mortars, or like how would you? I mean, I could do smoke, and I think I do smoke eventually somewhere around here, but yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah.
good question. So I think normally, especially when you're playing Wehrmacht, 1 mortar is probably enough. But then look at the rest of your composition. What else would help us a lot with units that are in buildings?
Yeah, stubble.
Yeah.
And the flamethrower.
Yep, exactly. You've got plenty of anti-garrison material in your composition. So going for another mortar at this point would probably be a bit redundant with what we've already got. Right? Now, what do we lack in our composition right now?
I would say more line units to push.
Line
probably.
units, sure. Yep. What else? Looking at what he's got.
An AT, yeah. 8th tank, yeah.
Yep, exactly. Yep. So going for having like a pack 40 would really nicely round out what we've got here, because the pack is going to allow us to inflict some damage and threaten these half tracks. And pushing those back is going to create space for our line units. And then we've got plenty of, between the mortar, the Stummel, and the flamethrower, we've got plenty of anti-garrison tools, as well as smoke to create more space for our infantry to go in and clear things out, right?
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I hope I do build that pack next. So here, I'm trying to position myself, not get too close. Here, I thought flamethrower could reach, but no, obviously it doesn't.
What would allow
Here,
us
I'm making them push. I mean, I can decide who are you gonna shoot.
Yeah.
Right? Like my grenadiers,
Yeah,
my
this is
Panzers, or my
good.
flamethrower. Yeah.
Victory point is under enemy control.
And then yeah, what went wrong here? I don't remember.
So far, so good from what I can see. Now, this guy does have some half tracks back there, which are a little dangerous, but...
Enemy forces have secured all victory points.
Oh, is that Satchel? Yeah, it was Satchel.
Yeah,
Well,
this guy's
no
standing in
wonder.
a
The
satchel.
enemy remains stubborn. We are down to 300 points.
So I was
he's-
like, I looked away and I came back. What happened here?
Yeah.
And I did not see that. Unfortunate.
That's a good retreat. You
You know what? So one of the things I learned from my videos is like, Well, so one thing that I do is I actually try to, be very intentional. Okay, like I'm taking damage, yes, but like I'm distracting your unit from like killing these guys over here while I can do something else over here, or
Yeah.
something like that, right?
Yeah.
But I found and you talked about it in some of your videos, but I feel like I'm starting to fall in that extreme side where I'm like, okay, now I'm actually being too cautious. Like, and it's just like, okay, like if I'm losing the engagement, I have no way of turning this around or making a win elsewhere, then I'll just retreat and don't suffer any hit points. But I feel like maybe I'm misjudging things. Maybe I'm being too conservative now in some ways.
Yeah.
So I don't know. How would you judge that, like, or manage that?
I mean, that's a good question, but it's a hard one to just say like you have to kind
rule
of
of
know
thumb,
from
generally.
experience, right? You kind of have to
Yeah.
know what situations are risky and what situations are, I guess, worthwhile risk or calculated risks, right? As an example, you've got your Stummel here. I think you took a mortar, which is why
Yeah, I did.
you took so much damage, right? Now, what does a mortar have a hard time hitting?
Moving targets.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Moving target. So you can hear, you can see, you can hear when he fires the mortar. All you have to do is make sure that you're not in the same position when the mortar comes down as you were when it went up. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And here what we did is, now I don't know if you come and kill this later, but like we'll just say for argument's sake that he's about to come back in here and secure this area, and you're not going to be able to get back access to this. As long as you scoot forward like a few feet and take one more shot at this, you're destroying this mortar pit, right? That is a big,
Right.
that's a big, like, that's a lot of pressure off your back, because now there's nothing from an indirect perspective outside of maybe one of these half tracks that's going to be a threat to your machine gun or, your troops if they're in like a fortified position, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
So that's a good example. And then you've also got like, we've got this exposed machine gun, like taking this away from our, COH is one of the unique games in which, not only can you punish your opponent by forcing them to lose a unit, but you can also steal it, right?
Yeah, and right. Very punishing.
Yeah.
Here, and 'cause I did notice that. Believe me, I noticed as soon as like it dropped. But I'm like, I have P grand, so is it really worth,
Pushing back.
giving like 2 P grand models for that? It probably is. I'm pretty sure it was, but would you say it was as well?
Yeah,
Or-
always. Oh,
Yeah.
pretty much always. Now, when you have the option, you want to crew your opponent's team weapon with the cheapest unit you have.
Right. Yeah.
But when you have no other option, most of the time, making sure that you've stolen the weapon from your opponent. Like, not only are you, think about it this way, not only are you securing it for yourself, you're also taking it from them. So it's like I don't know how else to put it.
Like a double whammy.
Yeah, it's a double whammy, right? Because your opponent's losing something and you're getting something from them. And something like a machine gun is really nice because it is a great tool to help you lock down space, right? And so in this case, like, yeah, it's a little expensive to pick it up with a P-Gren, but definitely worthwhile. Yes, that was a good kill. Looks like this is going to get finished off by a pack howitzer or something. There we go, that's good. Yeah, that's fine.
I think it's a tank. I think it's like an orange tank.
Yeah, there's a few, there's some half tracks up here. I think there's a little scout car over here. That's a little dangerous to us, but not too bad. Some things I think you want to think about right here are, first, we're getting suppressed by this machine gun. I don't know if you know this, but there's a little trick that you can do when you're suppressed near a building.
Garrisoning it. It like eliminates it, right?
Yes. Yeah, you got it. Good. Just wanted to make sure that was something you were aware of.
How much time... So there, I didn't think I was close enough for that garrison trick to pull off. So my question here is, like, how much time, once they get in cover, are they unsuppressed?
As soon as they get in the building, the suppression is broken.
Oh no, I mean like right the where pagans are right now. Like
Yeah.
if they now that are hugging that little wall, like
Yeah.
will they get unsuppressed
Not really.
or
No.
not really? Okay.
Because when you're in the green cover, so basically how suppression works is it's like a how do I explain it? Think of it as like a progress bar that fills up, right? As
Yeah.
a unit takes more suppression damage, which you get from machine guns and a couple other vehicles have suppression damage, the bar fills up to a threshold, right? And once they're in that threshold, they get suppressed, and then if it goes further, they get pinned, which is with the red icon. They're stuck. They can't do anything, right?
Right. Right.
When
Mhm.
you're in green cover, all you're doing is preventing the bar from being filled more.
Okay. Okay.
So
Gotcha.
if
But
they're
they'll always
suppressed,
be in
yeah,
that yellow. I
as
guess.
long as
Okay.
they're continuously taking suppression damage, it's pretty rare that they will get back up. I have seen, like, it does happen sometimes, but it's not something that I count on, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here, like in your case, this building is a little bit further away, but actually, like so once you get close to a structure, your units will crawl a little bit faster to get into the building, which allows them to create more space. And then obviously, what you know that once you get in, the suppression is broken, you can jump back out and reposition, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. And this didn't used to be an issue before, but I've been finding in my games now where I'm floating a lot of like manpower, and I feel like I'm just so, I guess, unsure what to make next. Or sometimes I over calculate. Okay, like I'm losing a lot of P-grunts, losing a lot of this, so I need to like just save some manpower, I guess, and that for to recuperate those losses. But yeah, no, I mean, I guess it's just a little thought there.
Yeah, no, that's a
See
great
here.
observation. And I was going to point it out. Like, we've got a lot of resources that we're not doing anything with right now, right? We've also got 3 CPs that we can spend on different things depending on what battle group we select, right?
Right.
Um,
So at this point, what would you have done? What would you have gone with?
so there's a couple options. First is in breakthrough, and this is good, especially if you know that you're gonna play on this side of the map. I like the going towards mechanized assault group in the breakthrough because it gives you the half track, which you've already got, but what you could do is like you could instead invest in like a Pigran or an early pack and then just wait for this. Wait for the CPs so that you can get this, and then you can upgrade this to your Stummel, and then you'll also get with it a Stormtrooper, which is like a tier 4 infantry unit, like super strong, right? Knowing that my opponent is playing machine guns, Stormtroopers are fantastic because they have that tactical assault ability. You can just walk through them, right? There's no suppression.
So that's like literally my favorite thing in this whole game, honestly. Like just Stormtrooper and just press that button, and okay, now they're immune to the one infantry killer thing in the game.
Yeah. They just turn into Terminators. Yeah.
It's super that or like worst comes worst, they have that X button thing, the smoke grenade, whatever it's called, phosphorus.
Yeah, the phosphorus. Yeah. That is also a very dangerous ability when you catch like units in cover, units in buildings, or just using it for a smoke screen, right? To like break suppression or avoid something. They have lots of great stuff in their kit. So getting access to that early on, we already have 3 CP. That's a great tool to help us, right? Another couple things I'm thinking about. We've got a couple half tracks from our opponent here. We're about 3.5 CP down. I know that at 4 CP from the mechanized battle group, I can get the Stug assault group. This is similar to the half track, except instead of the half track, you get the Stug D. I'm not sure if you've used this before, but it's like, it's the Stug with the short gun, which is good against infantry, right?
Right.
Think of it as like the Stug's bigger, or the Stummel's bigger brother, right? So that combination is also very, very nice in this situation, especially in the urban environment. The Stug, very high frontal armor, so kind of difficult for this gun motor carriage to penetrate, this AT half track. And then again, the Stormtroopers are just excellent for dealing with the machine guns as the game progresses, right?
Makes sense, yeah. So I should have, at this point, already committed to a battle group, and then just been more proactive with like my resource spending and get like that or that Stug or the yeah, like other stormtrooper bundle.
For sure. I would encourage you, like, pick 1 or 2 battle groups and then go into each game with a plan, because my guess is that, like, you probably, nothing in your head is triggering saying, oh, I've got 3 CP, I could buy this right now if I need to. Like, you're just not
Right.
familiar enough with the battle groups and with the game to know, to have that mental trigger happen, right? But if you selected this at the beginning, then you already have these trees in front of you, and so you can go and you can be like, okay, I've got 3 CP now, like, what do I want? Oh, okay, I see, like, I could go down this tree and get, like, the mechanized assault group, right? Whereas, like, in this interface, you may not like, think of that necessarily, right?
Right, right.
So
Yeah, and no, yeah, go for it.
I was just gonna say, like, trying to take the most advantage of a handful of battle groups and get practice with them to see, like, what their strengths are, all that, like, that. I think that is a much better way to help you take advantage of the strongest parts of the battle groups than what your current state is, which is you're kind of analysis paralysis a little bit, right? Like you said, you've got all these resources, but you don't exactly know what to do with them. Having, like, a set build order or having a plan can be a really good way to simplify it for yourself and build familiarity, so that after you've got enough comfort in working your plan, I guess, to perfection, we could say, or to the best of your ability, then you can start to deviate and try new things, right? And do sort of the same activity over again with a different battle group.
Right. Yeah, and you know what? Well, so I by as Wehrmacht, I think by default, especially when I was started playing the game, my default almost always went for the mechanized, just because of, like, I really like the Panthers, and
Yeah.
and before they got nerfed, I was, you know, playing with the West a lot. But yeah, like, I mean, the Panthers was, like, always a really cool unit, so I always went mechanized. I very rarely went with the other two. So very familiar with that one, but not so much with with the other two. I am familiar with the other one though, the new one, the with
Terror?
the King Tiger. Yeah,
Yeah,
Terror.
yeah.
I'm familiar with that one. So I'm familiar with 2 of the 4 for
Right.
Warmont. The rest I just never felt very I guess encouraged to use them.
Yeah, yeah.
We have
Yeah,
lost
that's
the
fair.
sector.
Most of it is just practice and building familiarity, right? Hopefully we're gonna get some repairs here.
Anti-tank
Good.
gun and crew are ready for orders.
Yeah, another pack here is fine. The only thing we have to be wary of with another pack is knowing that, first of all, this ability is very dangerous to team weapons. I don't know if you noticed this, that your opponent had called this in, but this is the Recon artillery.
Recon artillery.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so having static, like, team weapons can be kind of dangerous if that gets called in, because basically if your guys put this down for a second, they're going to get destroyed, right? So they have to very quickly move, and that's also, like, if if you get really unlucky, sometimes, like, you pack up, you try to move, but it's too late anyways, and you just get 1 shot or 2 shot by the artillery. So, considering how much fuel you have, I think going for something like a Stug, which would give you a mobile anti-tank option. I always, like, when I'm thinking about anti-tank, having
Like
static
the
anti-tank is good.
Mm-hmm.
But it basically, your opponent has to misplay for you to actually kill things with this, right?
Right.
Because these are static weapons, which means my opponent has to drive into it, and then they have to stay in range and in line of sight long enough for me to actually kill it, which usually means that they have to misplay, right? With a
Yeah.
Stug, you can be proactive, because as your opponent comes in, you can go and meet them, and then if they try to retreat, you can actually chase them, whereas with the pack, you can't do that, right?
When you're talking about the Stug, are you talking about, like, the anti-tank Stug
Yeah,
in
this
the building,
one.
or that one? Okay.
This guy right here. This guy.
Okay. Oh yeah, so I would definitely had enough fuel for it.
For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
I've never built that one up. I've only upgraded the support elements a few times, and that was just for, like, I think the Martyr or the Nebelwerfer, and that's it.
Oh,
For
okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
or Black Panzer. Yeah.
Yeah, the like the Wirbelwind. Yeah, I think this is slept on a little bit, especially in team games. You'll notice like your opponent, you can't see it, you haven't seen it yet, but he's built a Sherman. He's got a Sherman that's coming onto the field, and your packs are going to help you deter it, but not destroy it. The Stug will actually help you destroy things because you can pursue your targets, right? The packs, you can't do that. You can only force your opponent away. Or like I said, if he does something silly and like dives you, then maybe you can kill him with like a snare and the pack combination. But the Stug allows you to be more proactive and in his face, so that if he makes a misplay or if he overextends, it's much easier for you to punish because you can pursue him.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Stug, I mean, the other nice thing about the Stug, it's, got great frontal armor, so it's just a great, like, bulwark or spearhead for your army at this point in the game. You can kind of just drive it in your opponent's face and be really annoying with it because it has so much frontal armor. And, like, we were kind of talking about creating space before, like, that's what it's really good at. It's really good at just, like, taking up space, taking up your opponent's attention, which creates openings for you to move in your packs, move in your P-Grens, and take control of territory or force off other units that you're concerned about.
Makes sense, right?
Cool. So we're repairing our Stommel. Yeah, you've got like you're like right on the cusp of the Stug decalling would be really nice here. And actually, like your double Stug or your double pack, I should say, opener is not too bad with the Stug D, because while you can't pursue your opponent's tanks, you can buy time so you can get to your tier 4 and eventually get like a Panther out.
Right, yeah, and that's why I think I'm just so accustomed to that where I'm like, okay, I just need that forward so I can get the extra Panther, which is the one thing I really need from that mechanized group.
Right.
Because I feel like the other ones are kind of lackluster in that mechanized tree. But I should try out the Stug one more. But like the first one, like I feel like I don't ever.
This one's really nice. Yeah, the 8-Rad. I mean, this is a light vehicle. Honestly, the timing on it is super weird. It used to come out earlier, but it was too strong, so they nerfed it. So it's kind of in a weird spot right now. But it's much stronger in like 1v1 setting, where the maps are wider and it kind of has more room to harass units on the edges of the map. But yeah, the Stug is really nice. The Stug is a really nice, like, when I go mech, that's kind of my go-to, is go straight for the Stug decal in.
Makes sense. Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely more for now on.
Good. We're floating a lot of resources. So, basically, when you've hit 200 fuel, you're behind. You're giving your opponents a very significant opportunity to, you've created this massive economic advantage for yourself that we're not converting into units, and that's just like a basic RTS principle. Right?
Right.
You need to get your resources out of your pool and onto the map so that you can win. Right? You have a great, very nicely rounded composition, but we need to get into our later tier units so that we can have more impact on the map as a whole. Right?
Right.
Because, while we're actually doing a pretty good job up here, our team's not doing so good. We're down to 200 VPs to 500. The other player, they've created a lot of space, and you'll notice also, your teammates, some of them are kind of hurting for units. Your teal guy doesn't have a lot of units left. I don't know what he was doing. He was doing some questionable things, but besides the point. But this is in the current state, this is still winnable for you. Let me just take a look at what's going on. Yeah, this is still winnable for you. We just need to convert all of this into units, and then we're in good shape.
Right. Yeah, and this is pretty egregious. I don't usually do this. It's pretty insane. Even now I'm looking at this. Wow, what was I not doing?
200 points remain. We are losing our grasp.
Yeah, more P-Grens would be good. Officer quarters for our tier 3 would be really nice. I don't know how often you get these, the officer quarters.
Funny enough, I only get that for tier 4 just to get those stormtrooper and get with their ability.
Get them to bet one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely one of the better ones. But honestly, man, especially if you're playing tier 2 or tier 3, this is really good. It's really, really strong because it not only does it give you the vet 1 immediately, but you'll notice it also increases your veterancy gain rate by 25%, which means where these guys get really scary is vet 3. Before that, they're pretty good, but at vet 3, they're terrifying. Like they are, you know, they'll run in your face. They'll pretty much kill anything 1v1, because they get some crazy accuracy bonuses at vet 3. But besides that, like, yeah, I think here we go. Okay, we're getting our tier 4 up, so that's good. But yeah, we're a little slow because we've got enough fuel for a tank, but we haven't put our tier 4 up yet, so the timing's a little bit off.
Right.
Hopefully we move this soon so we don't.
Yeah, no, I don't move that. I remember. I think I left it on.
Okay, you killed the dingo.
Yeah.
yeah, I do that all the time. Nice, this is a good push in with your teammates.
I think I even get a grenade off here. Yeah, he just wasn't looking.
Okay, I want to talk. I'm so glad I paused right here. I want to talk about this grenade that you're throwing right now. So this is aimed right in the middle of his bunch, right?
Should I do it where he's gonna fall back to? Like,
yeah.
a little bit behind?
No, so there's you have two choices. Okay, one, you can anticipate the retreat, right?
Right.
You watch like players like Faragi or like Dumay. I don't know if you watch other streamers, but like
and I've tried to do the same thing where like just look into the path where they're gonna do next and just throw the grenade there.
Yeah. So you can just basically like your opponent will see that you're winding up to throw a grenade, and sometimes they'll just press retreat, right? Because they're like, oh, he's gonna spend the munitions, haha. Like
you can cancel it, right?
Right.
Like if you time it perfectly.
You can cancel the throw. Yes, you can cancel the throw. Absolutely. Even now, like the grenade is not in the air. You could hit the stop key, and it would not, like nothing would happen. So you have two options. You can either throw it somewhere like here, because you're anticipating the retreat, and that'd be very cheeky of you. But I want to talk more specifically about where you're throwing the grenade relative to all these units, okay? If he doesn't want to retreat this grenade, but he wants to dodge it, where can he go?
He can move up or even get closer to me.
He can move he can step closer to you, right? Now, knowing that you're a Panzer Grenadier with STGs, what is the likelihood that he's going to walk towards you? What do most players do when they're dodging something? Yeah.
They just run away or...
They back up, right? They back towards their own units, right? Now, where can these units absolutely not go?
They can't go right there. Well, they can't vault over the cover?
Right. They can't go through. They can't go over this, right? And if they try, it's going to be bad. So look at where we're throwing this. We're kind of throwing it right in the center of the cover, right? What we want to do, especially with a grenade that's this big, look at the size of the radius on this thing. It's massive, right? With a grenade this big, what I want to do is I want to anticipate that my opponent's going to try to dodge it. And if they don't, I still want to hit them good with it. So a much better position for me to throw my grenade is look at where can my opponent go, and then make sure that the radius is still covering those positions as well. So when we're throwing our grenade, throwing it somewhere like right here is much better, because these guys are still going to be on the edge of the radius. So if they step towards you, they actually dodge it, good for him. Like, that almost never happens. I never see that, right? But if he goes down, if he goes left, he's still going to take a lot of damage. And that's going to be your cue to continue marching forward and getting on his retreat path so you can try to secure the wipe, right?
Makes sense. Yeah, right.
So think, when you're throwing your grenades, think about not just where is your opponent, but where can they go, and try to find the spot that covers both of those, right? Where they are and where they can go. It's like a Venn diagram that you just got to do in your head real quick. And it's not hard, right? You just look at the radius. Okay, I know he can't go this way, so I'm going to put the outer edge of the circle right here. And then I'm going to put the grenade itself like right here. So if they step back, they're actually just going to be standing on it, which would be really bad for them, right?
Right.
Let's see if he retreats anyway. Nope, he just eats it. Now, The reason why you didn't actually kill both of these units is because we threw it slightly in front of him in this barrier, which mitigated some of the damage.
So did it probably count as a grenade happening on the other side of that wall? Probably,
yeah, a little bit, potentially. Because sometimes if you throw a grenade, sometimes it's like if I have units here and the grenade explodes here, it won't do as much damage because the barrier takes a lot of the impact. So putting it like if you put it right here, I actually like both of these units would either be dead or very close to dead instead of where they are, which is about half HP.
Right. Yeah, I definitely could have tossed that much better. Yeah, there they go. Well, it was one of them.
And we got this going on too. Uh-oh. That Black Dragon? That's Black Dragon.
Oh yeah, he's dead.
R.I.P. Grant. We're still a little, I was gonna say, we're a little close here with the other stuff.
And here, I'm like, what are you doing? What are you moving up for? It's just knocks my poor guy in.
Yeah.
Here, I do that thing, but I feel like it hurts me sometimes more than not, because now I can't even shoot at it unless I attack ground on it or something.
Yeah. You know, you're on the, okay. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. This ability can be counterproductive sometimes because it also blocks you from easily shooting at whatever vehicle is behind that smoke screen. So yeah, sometimes that can. This is real. It's more of a defensive tool than anything, right?
Yeah.
There's also rare situations where your opponent's vehicle is on like a sliver of health, and you know that if you try to just use the Stummel's like lobber gun, it won't work. So you go for this, right? But that's pretty rare. Those situations are pretty rare. This is mostly a defensive tool, mostly. Especially since they took the snare off of it. So you're going for a P4 at this point, which is, frankly, it's a little bit late to be getting a Panzer IV.
Yeah, definitely.
And you also know that your opponent has 2 Shermans on the field already. The Panther here is a much better option because much higher frontal armor. Now it looks like actually you still haven't selected your battle group.
Yeah, no, at this point I just completely forgot about that group, which happens from time to time. But yeah, no, I completely forgot about it.
Fair enough. At this point,
I'm not planning there.
We lost the Grenadier. I don't really know if I would rebuild this unless you've been using it a lot for merging, but I don't think you have. I think this would be better spent on and this would have been earlier in the game too. Like you invested in P-Grens pretty early on. I think getting like 1 or 2 more would have been great. Like if you had 2 or 3 P-Grens, you could be much more aggressive with these guys as well. Because they're pretty threatening, right? So your opponent's gonna try to hit them with vehicles. They're gonna try to pin them down with machine guns. And when you've got a few of them, they become very difficult to contain because they can kind of cover a lot of ground, right? So if you're gonna go for P-Grens, like I would definitely find an opportunity in your build to load like 1 or 2 more into there.
Makes sense. Yeah, for sure.
Cool. We got the Stormtrooper building. We like that. We're in a bit of a rough position now, just based on what we've gone for here with our Panzer IV. It's not going to give us quite the carrying power that we need to come back into this. Whereas the Panther might. The Panther, because it's so good against enemy armor, like, if I can get some good kills on my opponent's armor, then we have a chance of clawing our way back in. Yes, yeah, absolutely. Panther against pretty much any of these tanks is very nice, and it is a big part of the reason why I like this battle group so much in 4v4. Oh boy, your teammates are just collapsing right now.
Yeah, no, I could have done a lot of things differently. Yeah, no, and that's just the end of the game, essentially.
I'm assuming the surrender comes in here.
Yeah, pretty much.
Cool. Okay, man. So, like, Honestly, tactically, your stuff is good. Like, you know, you did a great maneuver up here with your P-Grind and your Flamer combo. Your macro choices were pretty good. Like, you went for the mortar. You got the Kettenkrad pretty early on. I think, yeah, I really think, like, if I were you, man, I would just get in the habit of going, if you're playing a lot of Wehrmacht, go mechanized, right? And just like find the opportunities to fit in the Stug D assault group. Or your like the Wesp, dude. The Wesp is a pretty nice artillery tool if you're up against a lot of like enemy, like if they're you know entrenched, or if they're building a lot of fortifications or something like that. Like the Wesp can be a very nice tool as well. But basically, like, Mechanize is nice because it has pretty much everything that you could possibly need in a game. Right? There isn't really any holes or any areas that aren't strong. Yeah. The only
one thing I...
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, one thing... So, again, like, I would always first start with mechanized support originally, and then went with Wesp, and then go with, like, that big artillery barrage. And then, like, as of like me 3 months ago, I started more going with mechanized armor. So I always just went that path where you see there.
Yeah.
Like that's what I always just kind of speed run. Here again, I was very, very bad with like my point management, but usually like that's what I go with. And then now what I do as well is like I always go with this flow first, and then on mechanized support I kind of just rush unless I really need that Wesp. I just kind of rush for that mechanized assault ability because I've been liking that a lot. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, find that one really, really, like really cool that my infantry are get buffed and my vehicles last a little bit longer. But what are your thoughts on that? I don't think I heard you talk about it much on your videos.
Generally speaking, I prefer mechanized assault. It's just a much more versatile ability. It's also cheaper. And like you said, it increases the combat performance of all of your units except for your team weapons, which when you're playing mech is like, I mean, that's most of what you've got. Like, you don't have that many team weapons, really, that would need to be benefited by that. But it's for making big all-in pushes, right? Like you said, you usually get, like, an extra shot on your tanks to help them survive. And when you're playing, like, a P-Gren or a Stormtrooper build, the reduced damage and, like, the movement speed on them is super nice because it allows them to support the tanks a lot better, too, because they're faster.
Do you think like a Stormtrooper or P-Gren with like that buff can go up like can go toe to toe with like Rangers, even if the Rangers are fully vet up too?
I mean, you'd probably have to match them in terms of veterancy. It kind of depends. It depends what the Rangers have. It depends what range you see them at. Like, if they just kind of like jump you around a corner and they have Thompsons and flamethrowers, you're gonna lose for sure.
Yeah.
But if you engage them like in an open field with a Stormtrooper and you've got equal veterancy, then the Stormtroopers can probably just mow them down. Probably. But yeah, Rangers, I mean, you kind of, like, the way to play against Rangers is really just, like, engage them with what they have not kitted for, and otherwise kind of avoid them. You kind of just, you just play the containment game with them. You know, you pin them down with machine guns. If they're going heavy on anti-infantry weapons, you build, like, a Brimbar, or you build a Stummel, and you're, you know, chipping away at them with that. If they're heavy, like if they're playing with bazookas, you just avoid them with your vehicles and you run at them with P-Grens and other units. Yeah, Rangers.
Right.
Like,
no, it makes sense.
Yeah. They're. I know they can be a bit of a scary unit, but kind of like once you have an idea of like what they're kitting into, like what weapons they're using, and as long as you know they don't get to like the super late game, like Vet 3, they get pretty scary. What I find, I'll tell you, like, the real weakness, and I think the reason why Rangers feel so oppressive is because players at, like, mid-level or lower level, they miss opportunities to chase them down and kill them. And in 4v4s, the field is massive, so there's lots of opportunities to do that. That players just don't take advantage of because, you know, they don't react as quickly, or they don't have the confidence to do it. Right? But that's usually what causes Rangers to get scary, is like they get they get into so many engagements and they take a lot of damage and they go back to base and they get a little bit veterancy from the medical tent and then they get back on the field, they take more damage, and then eventually like they just come out as vet 3 and they're just terminating everything, right? Like there's like this big swing state, and it's because we didn't find that opportunity to take them out when they were weaker, right?
Right. I mean, yeah. Whenever I see them in training, for that same reason, I'm always trying to gun them down. I do not want them to get to that vet 3 level because it's not pretty when it happens.
Yeah. Cool. Did you have another one you wanted to take a look at?
Yeah. I mean, again, if we have just a little bit of time, I know we're already approaching like almost an hour and a half ish.
Yeah, don't worry about it, man.
The one called U.S. Lost 2025, June 8th.
June
0608. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay, yeah. This one looks short.
So that one was also a loss. It was like only 13-ish minutes. And that one, like, I mean, it was a very, like, very confident loss on there. Like, very decisive loss. So I'm like, what could I have done there? Yeah, this is as USF.
Oops.
Yeah, you'll see the same theme in that one. I did not go with any particular battle group.
Okay. US in 4v4s is it's in a rough spot, man. I'm not gonna lie.
One thing that I kind of have like a little rule of, like, little guideline is if I'm in a urban area, I feel a little more comfortable going Rangers for the reason that I can just sneak up on people or like more with that close quarters type of combat.
Yeah.
So here, right off the bat, I'm like, okay, I should definitely do Rangers. But you know what happens to me is like I get so like engaged or like tunnel vision, like okay, what like smack around my units and managing like the board here, where I just forget about that CP.
Right. Okay.
And then what I've been going with, if I go advanced, so whenever I go advanced infantry, I actually go kind of 50 feet. Either I go with the medical tent, or I go with that assault one. I really like the assault one for the same reason, like the mechanized assault. But which one do you think is like what situation should I go either or pretty much?
In team games, I favor the medical tent because it just gives you a lot more field presence because you're not having to run all the way back to base.
Yeah.
Like looking at this map and looking at where we've spawned, where do you think would be a good spot for a medical tent? Looking at the map.
Probably a little bit behind like the population point. Right there. Yeah, a little bit behind there. Yeah, a little bit behind there.
Yeah. In this area would be good for sure. Because you're kind of covered a little bit from artillery potentially by this wall. Even like back here would be a good spot too, because you're kind of just going just outside of the safety of the starting zone. And again, thinking about like you may be like, I don't know if that's far enough forward, but think about how much time you would spend walking back and forth between these two areas, right? Minutes over the course of the game. Dozens of minutes potentially, right? Just running back from base, not being on the field. So being close to the front, but also in a position that you can adequately protect, and ideally, like you don't want your opponent to ever know where your tent is because that's when it gets a little bit dangerous, right?
Yeah, right.
But yeah, somewhere that's a little bit more protected, but still close enough to the front line that you can consistently get in there. I like assault position, but I generally use it for like 1v1s or smaller team games where I'm not as concerned with like field presence.
Sure. Okay. Makes sense.
We have riflemen taking the field.
Aids.
So I'm not even sure who to focus down here, and I mean I just get mowed down by
Yeah,
all
I was
these
gonna
units.
say he's kind of got too many units in the open here. Honestly, this is part of like why I don't feel like Riflemen are in a great spot besides their economy. Like I just don't think they perform very well right now. when you're playing in this situation, this is a really urban environment, right? I think you want to go for an early engineer so that you can use the flamethrower to keep these buildings clear. Because as long as the units are in buildings, they're going to be very difficult for your riflemen to be effective against. You want them out here in the open. That's where you can like get up in his face and blast him. When he's in the garrison, he's got the protection of the green cover, which is makes them harder to hit, and they get damage reduction, right? When they're in green cover. So this is where we want them to be. We want them to be out in the open. The only way to force them out in the open is to have a flamethrower to keep control of these buildings and keep them out of them.
Gotcha.
We can distribute grenades to the front
It'll
line
also go nicely with your Jeep because right now your Jeep only has like self-repair, and then after that it's kind of like stuck, right? Like you kind of have to wait till it comes back up, or you have to build an engineer later. Good rifle grenade attempt.
run. It's theirs now.
This situation where you're outnumbered and he's engaging you at maximum range, you do not want to push in. You're just going to bleed manpower. With Riflemen, you want to, ideally, you want to have the numerical advantage because your Riflemen are best at close and mid-range, which means you have to close the gap before they become effective. And if he is doing this, where he's doing this behavior where he's kind of like stepping and then he's kiting you, he's like taking a shot and then stepping and then taking another shot, you're never going to get the opportunity to get close enough to deal damage to him unless you have the numbers to do it. So with your Rifleman, generally what you want to do is you want to play kind of from like green cover until you have enough numbers to collapse in on whatever your opponent happens to have.
Okay. Yeah. And I remember one of yours, you talk about like how I mean these Riflemen are more focused on that volume of fire, so they're better at that mid, close range. And I thought, okay, there's 2 grenadiers, but hey, this guy's very close range. Maybe he can pull something off. Obviously not just
not quite there. Yeah.
Let's go, boys. The enemy have taken territory from us.
Okay, then we did mortar. And this is kind of the other trap. So if you'll look at your opponent's bit, now you don't know this for sure, but you haven't seen a machine gun yet, right?
Yeah, right. I know he has 2 grenadiers and a pioneer at least.
So at best, we don't have enough line units to match his. That we even know that he has, but it actually turns out he has 4. He just built another one, right? So we're pretty dramatically like outgunned here if we ever fight him, right? And the mortar here is not the greatest investment for us in this case. Now I understand because you're probably like thinking, I have to dislodge him from these buildings, right? I have to get him out of the cover position. That is actually why we go for the flamethrower in the early game instead, because it's a little bit cheaper in manpower. See, it's 180 versus 260. The flamethrower itself is 50 munitions. That's a little expensive, but that's something we can afford early on, right? And that actually would allow us to invest in another Rifleman and also be more aggressive with our Jeep, and be much more in line with like being able to compete with what this guy's got.
Yeah.
So mortar good. But I would aim for this, like, if the problem is buildings, you should be thinking flamethrower. If the problem is machine guns, that's when we bring in the mortar. Just in the first like 5 minutes of the game, this is the most important. Because remember we were talking about field presence last game, and you were like, I want to make sure I get enough units on the field, right?
Yeah.
This guy can't push, right?
Right.
This guy. So we've effectively got 2.5 units that can push against 4, right? And also look at the kill differential here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like we're bleeding pretty rough in the early game. So what you got to do with your Riflemen is keep them together, right? And focus on those isolated targets that you can like, oh, he's out, like he's standing out in the open. I can just kind of run at him with like a couple of them together. Right? There's more advanced like ways that we could talk about how to micro Riflemen, but honestly, I just want to wait till next patch so we can see what kind of state they're in before I start telling people what to do with them. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, these guys are really hard to use right now. Like from a performance perspective, they're pretty pathetic. Unless you dump
Really? Wow.
Yeah, they're not very good. They're not very good. Unless you dump like
crazy.
all your fuel into them, which isn't a good thing to do either, and you probably have felt that.
It's crazy because like I always, I mean, because when I started playing this game, like I want to say last October,
Yeah.
like really playing it consistently, right?
Mhm.
And I mean, I remember like at that time struggling with like 5 riflemen, like the whole rifleman blobbing and spam with their bars. And like, holy crap, dude. So like the only way I could is like, okay, 2 MGs it is, and just having my grants to constantly like reinforce MG, and there you go, like I should win or something. And but so I guess like that initial perception of the game has always made me think, okay, riflemen are like these, like British are probably the best. Like I like them a lot, like with how flexible that line section are.
Yeah.
And it's probably riflemen, and then like yeah, like everyone else is like the rest. That's how you go.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's crazy that they're kind of fallen off.
It's like, dude, so many things happened between now and last October that affected Riflemen. Like they did the accuracy rework, or the DPS rework for the line units. I don't know if you remember that, but like they buffed all the line units DPS by 25%. That actually did not favor Riflemen, because it made all the other units much more accurate and make them easier to hit at long range. So Riflemen had a much harder time closing the gap after that. Okay. Then you had things like the infantry support center. You're not going for it this game, but the infantry support center, like logistics was super cheap, and it made those like 5-6 rifleman builds viable because they were so cheap to reinforce. Right? You could just build. They were like bees. Like you could just send the bees out on. You know, just like run your opponent over with a swarm of bees. Like that's how it felt. But now it's like, you know, the logistics. It's more expensive, and then bars. Like bars are good, but like what made bars so good was that you could get them. You could get the cheaper upgraded bars. I think it was like you could get like it was called munition surplus. And you could get a second bar for 30 munitions, which was super cheap when you think about how powerful that weapon upgrade is. And so, yeah, like there was a lot of things that got adjusted or tuned that negatively affected Riflemen. And then on top of that, we had this unit distinction patch where they changed all the veterancy on all the units. And Riflemen kind of got the short stick. About it. Yeah, they kind of got the short stick when it came to that. A couple other units did as well. But Riflemen were definitely one of the ones that got the short stick. So, anyway, yeah.
Well, no, it's not the takeaway I had from the last couple months, but yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I see how he kites, like he just stops, and then I mean, and I adopted that because I have not done that until like a month ago. I'm like, okay, I should do that from now on.
That's how you play against Riflemen. You pop shot, take a step back, pop shot, and just keep as much distance as possible. And then this guy, I mean, what he's doing is even more correct, because what happens is, think of it this way, right? He takes pot shots, you're closing the gap, and then it's like you finally get into optimal range, and then he retreats, right? And you're like, well, shit, I took all this damage. I have no opportunity to deal damage to him. And now I've got this unit that's at like 50% HP that I can't attack anything else with, right?
The only thing there is like at least, hey, one less unit in the map, I can try and get some points, like capture points from it. But I know. I'm telling you, like we got decisively so beat that I wasn't sure what I could have done differently. But I mean, yeah, like what you said, like no mortar, maybe go more on Riflemen, and then what else though? I guess.
Yeah, the engineer came out, but I would have done it, I think, a little earlier. You want a good opener? Dude, if you wanted to play Rifleman, I would recommend Jeep is fine. I actually don't like Jeep in this congested of an area. Like if you're in the middle, I think the Jeep would be good because it'll allow you to flex between both sides and help out and like play in this open area a lot better. But in here, it can be kind of difficult to use the Jeep, right? It's very easy to get caught around a corner or like something you can't see, and then you lose it pretty easily to a Panzerfaust, right? So it's not like, now this is really good. The Scout Commander is really, really nice.
Yep, I like it.
The spotting element on it. But you can always get this later. You know, if you're dealing with like camo MGs or something, and that's a problem, this could be really good. The Scout Commander with the Jeep.
You know, what do you think of like this strategy that I've kind of been having for like the last 2 months now with US, where I build that Rifleman, the first building to build Rifleman. I get the Jeep out like as my second unit. And yeah, like I try to do any like skirmishing, early damage on them. And ultimately I get the Jeep to get to like that veterancy, so I can like just get like a machine gun or you know like that those weapons.
Yeah.
So I can never have to build like that other building.
Right.
And so that's why I get that Jeep so early on. But but I guess it makes more sense not to get it that early, probably.
I think I'm with you there. I think I'm with you. I would adjust it a little bit. So what I would do is from your headquarters, build an engineer right at the beginning. And then get your Rifleman building and just go for Jeep. Skip the first Rifleman, get all the Riflemen after, okay? What that's going to allow you to do, your Scout can vacuum up the territory behind. Your Jeep can go and find a target right at the beginning. Best case scenario, you can find one of these little suckers, right?
Yeah. They're so they're easy pickings for the Jeep.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you can find a Kettenkrad or a Kradschützen and just bully it a little bit, and then you're probably going to take some damage. Your opponent's going to try to respond to you. They're going to try to protect this. Then you've got your engineer already. So instead of popping your self-repair, you just drive it back to wherever your engineer is coming out on the map and give it a quick repair and then go and do it again. Rinse and repeat. What this is going to do is keep your opponent busy in a different area of the map that's going to allow you to start accumulating your Riflemen in the back line. Okay? You're also going to be able to like deal some chip damage to your opponent's units, where this is the magic of ultralights, right? Is that they can deal a little bit of damage to these line type units, and the damage that they receive does not cost anything, because like if I knock a couple grenadiers off, he's got to pay for that, right? He's got to reinforce them. But damage on my Jeep, I just have to repair. Right,
for sure.
So I deal a little bit of economic damage. I soften up my targets a little bit, and then when my Riflemen finally come in, they've got softer targets that are probably further back because they've been chasing my Jeep around, and it allows my Riflemen to collapse on and get on top of my target a lot more easily. Because the other thing about the Jeep, like, and this is, I know I'm getting like super nerdy for you, but like this is kind of the nuance of playing tier 1 with the Jeep. Like the Jeep kind of makes the barracks play possible, but it's difficult, right? I'll give you an example. The best way to use like a Jeep and a Rifleman combination, say you got a Grenadier in cover here, right? You actually drive the Jeep in first, because the Jeep is going to take all the alpha damage from the Grenadiers in the cover, and if you take like 1 volley or 2 volleys from the Grenadier, that gives the Rifleman time and space to close the gap without taking too much damage, where they can finally get into their effective range, right? Like I can get up to this nice little like green cover piece right here, and now I'm gonna cook this Grenadier 1v1 with those 2 units, right? And I just pull my Jeep back, I do some quick repairs, get a little bit of veterancy on it. That's really nice, right? And I kind of just rinse and repeat, try to find opportunities to do that, to give my Riflemen the window of opportunity they need to close the gap and get on top of my opponent.
Okay. Yeah, I should do that more often. Cause I didn't see it that way, of like using the Jeep as like a bullet sponge for like the first 2 volleys, and then allow my other guys to get into position better. So yeah, I'll definitely do that more often. But yeah, like the first, like as soon as that Jeep comes out, I like literally the first thing I do is like do that attack move and then do it like deep into their their side. Just so like, but I do it and then I tell Jeep to get a little bit closer so he can do more damage rather than from that far.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it sounds like you're telling me like be more aggressive with that. Right?
Yeah. In the first like, basically your window of opportunity to hit Vet 1 is like the first 3 minutes of the game, right? Because as soon as these guys come out, that it kind of becomes difficult to be really aggressive with this anymore, right?
Yeah.
So you got to get in their face. You got to go hunting for the stupid bike vehicles. Like you got to try to hunt those little suckers down, and try to get to your Vet 1 quickly. Yeah. So that you get access to your resupply platform, right? And then, like you said, you can decide between, like, the machine gun is great, but the mortar is also good because paying 75 munitions for a mortar and then crewing it with 2 men is way cheaper and gives you a lot more tempo than building a mortar from your barracks, which costs as much as a rifleman, right?
Yeah, it makes sense.
So that's the other thing we're thinking about there too.
Reports of enemy movement near our victory point.
Fuel income is actually quite good, despite all the suffering that we've been doing. Good, you know about
toggle into the
thing
minor
away.
suite, but yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, and I remember now, so like, I was originally gonna put them on flamethrower duty, but I was like, I think I stepped on the miner. I was like, okay, I was like, yeah, no, they had control over that side of the map for too long. I'm sure they have it decked out with mines by now.
For sure.
And I went with the 8, and then what I do a lot, is I go again AT as like my 4th, 5th unit. Even though they don't have any vehicles yet, I'm like I know they're gonna get it eventually, or especially like here where like I know we're losing so badly that they have a fuel advantage, so I can see their vehicles coming out faster than me. So I go for that AT gun, but there's been times where like I go that AT gun, but it doesn't do anything sometimes, right? Because like there's no vehicles, or it's just kind of there as an insurance type of policy, and doesn't always pay off.
Right.
Sector lost.
Okay. I don't think this is going to help you. The quad, it's very late to be building from the motor pool. I think the Greyhound is much better. It's got more armor, and it's going to be much more threatening to your opponent's light vehicles like the Stummel compared to the quad. The quad is good because of how early it comes out, and because it can deal with aggressive units really well, like Panzer Grenadiers. If they're just like running at you, the quad's gonna mow them down, right? But your problem at this point in the game, you need like an anchor unit that can create openings for you, and the quad's not gonna do it because it's very squishy, right? It's very easy to kill. So I would probably aim for the Greyhound at this point instead, because it's got more health, it's got that nice main gun on it that's going to be much more effective against some of these light vehicles. What are we dealing with here? Like these? Like the Greyhound's much scarier to these than the quad is.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's great point. I went instinctively with that other one just because I'm struggling with these infantry, so you know, big AA gun. Was what my simple brain was thinking.
Yeah. The quad is good, but it's better coming from the weapon support center because it comes out much earlier.
Okay.
At this point in the game, like, and the mechanized support center, the only time I would consider building a quad from the motor pool is probably if my opponent is playing like Luftwaffe and they've got aircraft that I want to shoot down. But I wouldn't build it for anti-infantry purposes. I'd go for the Greyhound for that.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Another thing, I say this to like pretty much everybody that I do coaching for. When you have the option between getting a team weapon and a vehicle, always get the vehicle first. So you built this AT gun first. I definitely understand the rationale, but what we're missing is something that can be aggressive and actually get the killing blow on these vehicles. And we also want to make sure that when we build a vehicle, we maximize its shock value and its effective time on the field, because every vehicle has a limited time on the field that it's effective, except for the last vehicles in the tree, right? Like the late game vehicles, right? So to maximize the effective time, I want to build it as early as possible. Okay? Having something like the Greyhound, it's also going to prevent me from taking as many losses in the rest of my unit roster, because it's going to soak up damage and soak up my opponent's attention, right?
Makes sense.
That's going to give me more flexibility to buy this afterwards, right? So think vehicle first, then support weapon after the vehicle.
Okay, gotcha. And then one of your recent videos, you were saying that, you know, assault grens are better now, I guess. After
these guys?
Yeah, those guys, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, these guys are good with breakthrough. They're pretty good. I mean, they get outscaled a lot, but as you can see, like, if you build enough of an advantage in the early game, it doesn't matter that they get outscaled, because you get to your late game stuff a lot quicker.
Right.
Yeah, we're in a tough spot. Like, with the units that you have, it's very difficult for you to contribute to taking this territory back.
But no, but everything you said makes total sense. So, get engineer, flamer, more aggressive with the jeep, build infantry till after I get my engineer and jeep, and then go with the vehicle first instead of more support units. Yeah.
This is nice. Get in his face. Okay.
Yeah, no,
we don't have to be afraid of him. We don't have to be afraid of... After he uses this, he's got nothing that he can hurt us with anymore. The only things we have to be afraid of are the pack. We don't know where it is. It looks like it's coming through this truss here. And the grenadiers, which are nowhere to be found at the moment. Right? So as long as I can't see his grenadiers, I can't see his pack, and I've got vision of the area around me, I want to get in his face and kill this stupid thing and finish it off. Right?
Yeah.
He played his card too early, and what I could have done was, as I was dealing with the gun disable, I could have just been driving at him, so that when the gun disable comes off, like, by now I can cook him in like 2 seconds and he's dead.
Yeah. Man, yeah, totally.
Oh.
That
Oh,
Black
yeah.
Panther.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I get it away.
Where's our quad? No, we don't have enough munitions. Shoot at it.
Yeah, and the smoke screen is like, yeah, it's so bad.
Shoot it.
Oh, I do get it. I do get it. Pretty sure I do get it.
Come on,
Yeah, I do get it.
yeah. All right. Consolation prize.
I only lost us
Did
the
you use
war, but we
this?
did it. No, I didn't. I only use it when I have like tanks. And at this point, I'm like,
Oh my god, dude. This is free.
yeah.
Just put it. Just
Oh,
put it.
does it cost 100 manpower?
No, it's free. So every time you use it afterwards, it costs. But the first one is free.
Oh, first one's free. Okay.
Yeah, the first one's free. So I would just plop it down somewhere that's not going to be super contested. That's going to be a good spot for you to repair vehicles. So, like, here's a good spot. Generally, here would be okay, but you guys have kind of been struggling, so.
Yeah.
Third rifleman. You got a lot of fuel now.
Yeah, I went to those mortar half tracks.
Down to 300 points. All victory points are under enemy control. Commander, we've lost it.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Orders have been carried out.
Oh, that was a
Nice,
nice
yeah.
grenade. So, yeah, this
Besides
is
the assault
perfect.
troop in, the gamut bombs from the Canadian shock troops are like super entertaining.
Yeah, they're
We've lost control of it.
probably the strong. I think they are the strongest grenade. Small thing about the quad. I don't know if you've seen me talk about the quad before, but the quad, you basically, if you want to avoid moving as much as possible, because it brings down the DPS by like 75%. Like
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That much?
Yes,
Okay.
a lot. Yeah. It has a really
I thought it was a
hard
percentage,
time.
but not that much.
Yeah, I mean, it's a large percentage. It has one. I think it has the worst moving accuracy of any vehicle potentially, and it also cuts the burst duration in half. So what you want to do is you kind of just want to park this thing, especially if you've got like assault grenadiers running into you or panzer grenadiers or something. Park it at max range and just let him walk into you, and you'll notice how much more quickly you chew up those squads than if you're trying to like move around or kite them or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Quarter ton truck destroyed.
Come on, get it with the quad. No.
Engineer squad has been killed. Krauts are pushing us back. We're down to 250.
Oh, I had sprint.
Okay, that happened. You wouldn't have been able to kill it with a grenade anyways. You gotta hit it with something else.
But yeah, no, I think it's just like 1 minute left in this replay, and then that's just that's just how it was a sad little death for us.
Yeah. Yeah, that was tough. So what I would do, man, if you haven't and you like playing Rangers, have you gone and watched my like how to guide for
I
that?
saw one of your how to's. It was when I think it was like 2v2 battle. Yeah, I have watched one, I think. Yeah.
I'm gonna send you another one. It's not a how-to guide, but so it's kind of like this is kind of like before I adopted that format. But it's a Ranger game that I think you would like because it was a 4v4 game, and I think a lot of the things that I talk about will be applicable to you.
Oh, I have seen another one where you talk a lot about Rangers, and you kind of talk about how like, hey, like save your bazookas to the very end, and put all the bazookas on like one Ranger, and then you have like this 3-star veteran Ranger killing tigers, at the end of the game. Yes. So I have seen that one.
That one.
You're referring to that one.
The tiger, the tiger one. I think here I'll send it to you. Make sure that's the same one. Yeah, this is a good one as well. That talks about like how to use Rangers, how to use the Jeep in the early game is a lot of what we talked about. Right. The medical tent, how to use the weapon drops, all that stuff comes through in this one, and I think would probably help you a lot if you're finding yourself like wanting to play with Rangers.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. I've seen this video. No, it was very entertaining. Very, very good. Yeah. And one thing that I thought was very interesting in that Ranger video you just linked, but also another one is like you explain how, hey, like Rangers, you also use them for like the shock value. So like after like that, I don't know, initial engagement kind of like finishes, like just like you kind of retreat them pretty quickly, or like you get them out of there. Cause like what's the point? Like they done what they gotta do, or they have nothing else to do. So just you kind of just retreat them, or you pull them out. Like you don't linger very often with the Rangers, is what I saw.
Yeah, because they're expensive, right, to reinforce.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so once they've like pushed your opponent off the map, you let your scouts do the capturing, and you just pull your Rangers to get back full health. Maybe grab like a weapon upgrade or something, and then look for another opportunity to like push your opponent off, because that's really all you want to do with them. You don't want to be walking around in the open with Rangers so much, because they're primarily a short range unit, right?
Yeah, right.
Roger that. We won't reinforce without your word.
And you said like Rangers like are not the most like that group in general is not the most like competitive one. I won't play because it's fun. It's just kind of fun to see them like.
Dude, that's what we play the game for, right? It's for fun.
Yeah.
Don't let anybody yap at you because like it's not competitive. Just do what's fun for you, man. I have a lot of fun with this. I mean, like my 2v2 partner hates when I play this battle group, but I have a lot of fun playing it. And there is some fun stuff in here. I'm hoping that with the upcoming patch, they'll help with the viability of some of these things. Namely, especially like the howitzer. Like I feel like the howitzers are way too easy to kill right now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I remember one of the videos I watched of you with the Rangers, like how the Rangers can like run so fast with like the howitzer shooting and like with some stacking abilities, I guess.
Oh man, that is one of my favorite parts. Like that is when the Ranger battle group comes together, like it all comes together. It's just like it's so all the stacking buffs, all the abilities, and there is some great like team value stuff in here as well. Like the ammo cache, so good. If you have a teammate that has artillery,
Right.
even if you're not building artillery, like going for the ammo cache is super nice. The artillery observers got some major buffs recently. We've seen a lot of these guys in 1v1 especially. And the beacons are no joke. Like, you can sit on them with a couple artillery observers, like plant a few beacons, and they'll just like pretty continuously bombard your opponent and create nice openings for your infantry. Yeah, man, this is the good stuff. Where is it? Artillery support, and then you get like a nice this Rifleman. Oh my god, you get the cover to cover bonus with this thing. And yeah, the buff is no joke. The speed, suppression resistance, like Rangers already have a decent amount of suppression resistance in their passive and other stuff. So they just become totally terrifying with this this bonus. Super quick,
super
too.
cool. Yeah, I remember like the battle that you showed in the replay was super cool. Like in and out of the combat super fast.
Yeah. Well, man. Well, I hope that was helpful. Did you have any other like last minute like questions or?
Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, no, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. Yeah, well, for one, I want to have more sessions with you, for sure. Once I get some more games and apply the stuff that you mentioned today, for one. And yeah, no, I mean, so I think from what we saw today, I just need to be more proactive. Well, I guess be more intentional with my decision making of like what units I have. And yeah, before when I first started playing the game, I would just kind of just pick one BG. I think I need to kind of go back to my roots, go back to my basics, and that makes sense, and just do that again.
Yeah.
Like you said, have a plan.
You don't. I'm not saying. Just to clarify, I'm not saying you like. I think that you should play the same battle group every time. I'm just saying that I think what you should do is go into the game and just pick one from the jump and try to use as much of it as you can, so you can A, get familiar with what's good and what's not, and B, start to get into a rhythm of like, okay, when I play this battle group, I like to do this. I like to build these things, and I like to use this battle group ability in this way, and just continuously like practicing that and being intentional about your battle group selection and like going down the tree. It will help you get more familiar and know when to select your different battle groups, because a lot of it's just experience, right? It's just like experience with the units, experience with the abilities, knowing approximately like what time things start to come out based on the CP gain that you're getting, that sort of thing, right?
We have command points.
Right. Makes sense. Yeah. No, really, like, appreciate it, Havoc. Thank you so much. What's your name, by the way, if you don't mind me asking?